Hey guys, welcome back to my tutorials, and in today's video I'm going to be discussing padding. Now all padding really is it allows you to generate space within and around your content. So what does this mean? Well, as an example, I've created a small button. So I've made a div class called button, and within it I've got a paragraph called button, and I've just given it some basic styling, height, a width, a border, background color, font color, text aligned, and positioned it in the center. As you can see, my button already has a little bit of spacing at the top, at the left, at the right, and at the bottom. However, let's say I wanted to increase this. Well, what I can start to do is I can start to use padding to increase the space between the actual text and the border of my container. That way I can increase the spacing right, bottom, left, and top as well. In order to do this, I can use the padding syntax. So I can use padding top, padding right, padding bottom, and padding left, as well as padding on its own. So down here, I've created some examples of how each of them are used. The first one is padding on its own. So first of all, let me just move this box down 150 pixels. And now let's just apply a general padding. Now this padding is 125 pixels. Now if you remember, margins will push the actual container around the page, so increasing the white space around the container. Padding increases the white space within the container. Okay, so they're effectively acting on opposite ends. So if I use a padding of 125 pixels, it's going to generate 125 pixels worth of space within all four corners, or within all four edges of this container. So if I were to go ahead and save this and refresh the page, now as you can see, it's generated 125 pixels on the top, on the right, on the bottom, and to the left, all within the container. But as you can see, it's remained in the same place. So if I were to increase this now to, let's say, 200 pixels, all four corners have now had 200 pixels applied to them internally. However, let's say we only wanted to focus on one of the actual edges rather than all four of them. Well, this can also be done. So let's look at padding left. So starting with the default button, I can apply padding left 75 pixels, which will now only affect the left edge, and it will create 75 pixels between the paragraph and the border of the container. So as you can see, I've now created 75 pixels from the paragraph to the edge of the container. Similarly, we can start to also use padding right by 75 pixels, which is going to generate 75 pixels worth of space between the paragraph and the right border, as you can see there. Then we can use padding top, let's say by 150 pixels, and padding top is going to generate space between the paragraph and the top border, pushing it down 150 pixels. And finally, we can use padding bottom as well of 100 pixels. So this is going to generate 100 pixels worth of space down, because it's from the paragraph to the bottom edge. Okay? Now what we can also do is we can also use them all at once. That is also very much possible, such as this. So here we've created padding, we've used padding left 75 pixels, padding right 75 pixels, padding top 150 pixels, and padding bottom 100 pixels. But writing all of this out is quite time consuming. So there is a slightly quicker way that we can use. So what we can do is we can use the shorthand version of the padding syntax. Now in order to do this, let me just comment all of this out and let me uncomment this. But I'll only start with this value. Now as you saw in my first example, all I showed you was padding with a particular value of 200 pixels. Now what this did is it increased spacing 25 pixels to the top, to the right, to the bottom, and to the left. But now let's say I want to add a second parameter of 50 pixels and save this. What this is now going to do is it's going to apply the height properties, so the padding top and the padding bottom to 25 pixels, but it's going to use 50 pixels for the padding left and padding right. So now you'll notice that only the padding left and the padding right will change. And these are both increased by another 25 pixels, because that way 25 and 25 make 50. If I were to now add a third parameter, such as maybe 150 pixels, now this changes the value of the meaning again. Because now this is saying I want the padding top to be 25 pixels, the padding right to be 50 pixels, the padding bottom to be 150 pixels. So what you'll see is this will not change, this will not change, but only this value will change. So it's going to the space between the paragraph and the bottom edge will now be different. Finally, I can also add in a fourth parameter of maybe 75 pixels. Now what this is going to do is this again changes the meaning of the padding. Because what this now means is I want the padding top to be 25 pixels, the padding right to be 50 pixels, the padding bottom to be 150 pixels, and the padding left to be 75 pixels. So, if I were to refresh the page now, all you'll see is the left padding increased between the space of the paragraph and the border of this edge. And that's that. Now, if you don't want to have to write out everything each time, but you only want to change maybe the padding left of a particular div, then what you can do is you can say padding 0, 0, 0, 75 pixels. And that's still just going to change the padding left. Okay, so that way you can change any of your values without having to write out all of this each time. And that's all there really is to it. Okay, so if you have any questions, then leave a message down below, or you can message me from my website. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. This is Carl from carltapt.com, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.